Like, what's going on, boys? We're going to go over the updated game controller settings post patch now. There's a few things I've tested out, a few things that I changed. These will be the things that I suggest and recommend. I'm not going to go over what each thing does. I'm just going to go over and tell you my preset and maybe what and if something has changed, why it's changed. Of course, if you're playing online rivals, you've got to be on competitive master switch. Now, shot assistance. Look, unless you're a pro player, you should be using assisted most of the time. To be honest, from my testing this year, to be honest, they've actually improved finishing inside the box. Near post are more viable. If you're the kind of player that likes to score travellas and finesses, like let's say you're spamming those travellas, you know who you are. But it's better to leave on assisted. You could argue that travellas will be harder on precision, and so will actually finesse shots. I would say only use precision if you know your aiming is good. I would recommend, to be honest, as I said, leaving this on assisted. And then if you want to ever do, for example, like a power shot, you can always do a manual shot yourself. But unless you're a pro player where you're forced to use precision shooting, this should be on assisted. But if you're an elite player plus, then definitely I would recommend trying precision because you'll have that ability to increase your chances because 1v1 is still not fantastic. Time finishing should be on. I know it says square here, just ignore that. That's because I'm using custom controls. But time shooting should be on. I think it's so effective this year, especially with those green time finesse shots outside the box. You see me score them so many times with players like Son, and you know how much I rate players like Son, Solskjaer, Zola, players like that. I'll definitely recommend leaving it on, especially if you can do a green time shot near post. You can always score almost guaranteed every single time, as long as you get the power correct. Now, the through pass distance on semi. Lob through pass is on semi. You're basically forced to. Remember, after the last 2 years, they changed it. Now, ground passes. Now, this is one I said either semi or unassisted. I still stand by it. Look, if you're asking me, to be honest, from my testing, I still think, statistically speaking, some statistics, assisted is going to be better. Because you're always going to at least get, as long as you know how, people don't know how passing works this game, but as long as you know how passing works, check out my video on passing. But as long as you know how the auto aim system works, where the game locks to a specific player, then you're fine. If you ever want to do a manual pass, just do a precision manual pass with R1 plus triangle or precision through ball. So that would be the solution if you really want to make those difficult passes. Otherwise, just leave this on assisted. Again, you will leave this on semi. You would know yourself if you're an elite player or not. Cross that. This one will depend. Semi, if you cross the ball a lot, right? Let's say you go down the byline. If you do it on semi, you apply a bit of power. For example, on square, the ball will go to the near post. If you apply a lot of power, or middle power will go towards the middle, and a lot of power, the power will go far post. So depending on how long you hold the square button, that's how long the cross would go. Now, me personally, I use driven ground cross, which is L1, R1, and square. So double tap square. So it actually, basically the game auto AI locks it to the player that's inside the box with assisted. That is why I leave on assisted. Unless you're spamming crosses to head of the ball in, which I don't do, you can put this on semi. That would be a use case. If you don't cross the ball and you're like me, then leave it on assisted. That's what I'd recommend. Do you want to get better at FC25? Now, before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you join my FC school and you didn't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? I can say this because I've been running my FC school for many years and thousands of students join and even stay on. We go over complete in-depth gameplay tutorials showing you both the theory of something and the gameplay examples using real-life examples in a structured format that's like a course. The videos are on a systematic learning system teaching you everything from the core mechanics, the basics to the meta so you can get better as a whole with explanations that go beyond the scope of my YouTube channel. FC School has already started with every single tactical layout, focuses, meta cards, and learn the meta before it even becomes the meta. So come join thousands of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FC25, patreon.com/nilguys, or click the link down below. Now, when you join, we already have a library of hundreds of videos, more than my YouTube channel, in fact, with new videos on FC25 getting constantly added so you'll never run out of content. The biggest mistake people do is they spend thousands of dollars on FP points every year thinking this will make them better, but it won't. But now it's time for you to make that change. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, just send me a message and I'll refund your money. That's the Neil Guys guarantee. Links down below in the description, patreon.com/NeilGuys. I leave on assisted. If I need to do precision lob pass, I can just do R1 and plus square and do precision lob pass manually, as opposed to leaving this on semi. The pass receiver lock late, very important. Even with delay, people say, look, is it better to use, like people argue, is it better to use power up or animation start? Once you choose the direction a player makes that, when you want to make a pass in, you can't change that direction. So if you make a pass to player B from A, if someone intercepts that pass lane, you can't stop it. So even with delay, I'm still going to put late no matter what. So in my opinion, late, statistically speaking, is the best one. even with delay. The precision pass sensitivity for those that do use it will depend. To be honest, I'm using high, but I don't know, man. My aim is not that good as it was last. Problem is obviously because it's my job to test things out. So I'm always changing between precision shooting, assisted shooting. So my aiming always gets off. So I'm always changing back and forth, chopping and changing. But I'll be honest, I'll probably say normal for most people. That's completely fine here. Directional clearance, you want to put this on directional. Advanced defending, you can use either advanced or tactical. I've already made a video on this. Look, if you're a top tier player in the elite division, I would recommend advanced defending. If you are struggling with defending, do not use advanced defending. Okay, I've given my analogy a million times. I'm not going to go over it again. There's a lot of nonsense in the community saying that tactical is bad. No, it's not bad. Advanced defending has advantages, but you've got to be an elite player plus. Maybe like there's one or two players that you watching this that might be in Division 5 that is better with advanced defending. The truth is, the masses, 99%, are going to be better with tactical defending. So if you struggle with defending and you're seeing these videos suggesting tactical advanced defending, don't. It's kind of like if you're learning, as I always say, if you're struggling to learn to drive a car in an automatic car, why would you want to learn how to drive a manual car? That's the way that I always say. Pass block assistance, leave this on. I don't know how people leave this on off. That has to be on. Switching air balls and loose balls, best one in my opinion. Auto switch move assistance, none. So important. That way you don't force a player. Sometimes the game will still auto switch you, but you can stop that by pressing all these triggers and pressing the super cancel button. So you can do that. So just go back over here if you press that, but you can press all these buttons and press super cancel. And that way, if the game does lock you onto a ball, and let's say you're running, the ball is getting played and your player's getting locked on, you can hold these and you can basically put your player into freeform, or super cancel as I like to call it. And that way you don't get moved. But leave this on none. Don't leave this on high. If you're new to the game, leave this on low. Never high. New to the game on low, but you should be using none. Right stick switching classic. I believe adaptive this year doesn't have any lag issues, but I think classic is still better. Ball relative or play relative, as I mentioned. Look, unless you've been playing the game for 5+ years or even 3+ years, if you're used to ball relative, keep it. If you're struggling with right stick switching, use ball relative. There's so much propaganda on how this is bad. There's more propaganda than, honestly, World War II Germany. People either just don't know what they're talking about, honestly, have no idea what they're talking about, or just straight out lying, okay? Now, first of all, statistically speaking, ball relative is better. In fact, for my FIFA score, I suggest everyone that is learning to use ball relative. Does player relative have its benefits? Yes, if you want to, for example, switch to the opposite side, technically ball relative, you can't do that. But for switching, because the ball is a reference point, I've already explained this before, but just quickly to mention on this, you're always going to select the player next to the ball, always guaranteed. And thereby you don't take a risk of selecting a player behind the ball, which you can do by mistake inadvertently with player relative. So that is why I'd recommend ball relative. But there's so much people saying, oh, it's not good. They don't know what they're talking about. It's either they haven't used it, and don't forget, a lot of the top tier players and pro players, they should be using player relative anyway, because you have that advantage on the elite level, like top 1%. But also it's because they haven't used it. To be honest, if I sat here and I made videos and I wasn't, it's not my job to test the game out, I'd probably say player relative is better. But when ball relative came out, I tested it, and it was the best one. They removed icon switching, but a lot of people say to me, oh, Neil, where's icon switching gone? I spoke to a few people. They've actually removed icon switching from the game. From my understanding, it's not coming back. I don't know, but I know a lot of people have been asking, where's icon switching gone? It's been removed from the game. Don't ask me, but yeah, they removed it. Right sensitivity, and this one, I kind of leave this on 6. I kind of, the higher you go, you could argue. So as per their description, the higher sensitivity, the more they will respect your right stick. Think of this as the more higher you go, the more manual right stick is going to be. The lower you go, the less assistance you're going to get. So kind of like the aim lock assistance, kind of like the passing one. Think of it like that way. I would say leave it on 6. The way I recommend this one is, it's kind of like, if you drive a car and your wife's driving a car, right? You have a seat in a specific position, your wife's going to have a seat in a different position. Everyone's going to have a different preference. I would say leave this on 6. Always go +1 and -1. Incrementally change after like 10 games until you find it. To be honest, I think between 5 to 8 is where most players are probably going to be. If you're not too sure what the hell I'm talking about, just leave it on 6. And you can always plus and minus this if you want to. Next, so this is where they got rid of the icon switching, as I mentioned in the player switching, so you can't do that anymore. I leave this on classic, but there is, goals side never use this, never ever use this. There is a use case for closest to the ball for teammate contain and stuff like that, but I think for most players, even myself, I'm using classic. But there is maybe a benefit to using closest to the ball, but for now, I'm going to use classic. Reaction time modifier, I mentioned this when the game came out. I did my testing. To be honest, I don't notice a grand difference. There are specific use cases where this may be useful to certain players, but only you would know that. To be honest, leave this on off. Apparently, there's people swear by it. Apparently, if you leave this on, it increases delay in the menus and then the gameplay. Again, they swear by it. I've not noticed this. I think it's placebo if you're asking me. But that's what people are just mentioning. I thought I'll just talk about it. People always asking me this. I'll just leave on off. Look, there's no need to increase. Look, very rarely would you want to do this. Maybe an extreme delay you can play this around, but 99% of people watching this video is going to be on off. Player lock, you want to leave this on. Very, very important this year. We know how bad AI movement is. We're basically resorted and forced to use player lock for any form of AI movement now. I'd probably say very much I'd probably say player lock maybe is a must-have thing now. That's what we've come to. Forget basic football with this game. It's come to the point where you have to use player lock. It's shambles. But anyway, you should be using that. Save assistance, that's fine when assisted. Analog sprint, completely up to you. But that is if the R2 button is your run button. You can use it to control the analog sprint. Think of it like a gas pedal in your car. You can't make the car any faster. Got hiccups. Can't make the car any faster with the accelerator, but you can make your speed run at 70%. But with controlled sprint and stuff like that, do you need it? Probably not. And then trigger and vibration, have this all on off. And that is the updated controller settings. And then my camera settings are still co-op 20. I'll make a video on camera settings actually in another video. But thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you want to see more content like this, you can come to my Patreon series, patreon.com/NoGuides, where I explain everything in detail. But I also give you more content like this, tell you the difference between player relative and ball relative, show you examples so you can see the difference yourself and you know what you can use. And don't forget, you don't get after 1 month refund. That's the NoGuides guarantee. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.